Hello, I'm Tiffany Watson, Director of the Edward J. Lewis II Lawyers in the Classroom program. Thank you for joining us for the Lawyers in the Classroom program series. Today, we'll hear from Mr. Thomas Valenti, volunteer attorney and solo practitioner, and his experiences, his volunteer experiences, and why he partnered with the Lawyers in the Classroom program. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, Tiffany. Nice to be with you. Okay, so I'm relatively new. I just started 2 years ago, and I had been working with students at different levels previously, but in Chicago, working with retired Judge Tom Hogan, doing some work on the south side of Chicago. Then I had heard about LIC, and I thought during COVID, I wanted to do some more interesting things, and heard great things about LIC, and so it got me interested and have enjoyed the experience, and so it fits what makes me smile, and so it's a good match for me. This year, we've only had one session so far. I was in person, my partner was remote, and we did freedom of speech and hate speech this year. Last year, we were able to cover the right to vote, the same freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and so far this year, because of scheduling, the freedom of speech and hate speech exercise was the only thing we did. It's really an interesting topic, and I learned a lot from it as well, because we all know mature adults look at the news in a different way than young people and have different life experiences, and so what happened with me in particular during our hate speech session, we learned, and I'm working with 7th and 8th graders, so we learned a perspective, at least I did, about hate speech that I wasn't aware of through different social media platforms that I'm really not on, Snapchat, TikTok, these kinds of things. And so it also is quite interesting to me to learn from them, and we had this experience last year. I worked alone last year, not with a partner, but the issues that we're aware of as mature adults about hate are even in the minds of 7th and 8th graders. Gender issues, racism issues, things like that are even present in their mind, but they're not filtered through the lens that we see it, having lived as long as I have anyway. And so I enjoy the free speech, hate speech one in particular. And I think we're gonna do Breonna Taylor next later this month if we can get back in the classroom. So I think it's, for them, a rare opportunity to interact with a professional. And I don't know that they do. Most of them may have professional moms and dads, or whoever is their guardian or caregiver. I'm not sure of that, but we know, having been children and having been parents, some of us, that the relationship between child and adult is different when you're in fact a mom or a dad or a son or a daughter. And so they can interact with us in much more free way. They don't have to see me at dinner. they can say things and share feelings that maybe they are a bit guarded with at home. So I think that's one of the things. And I think too, sharing stories, what I call from the street, and all of us lawyers have some stories from our practice, from some life experience that we have. I might be a bit older than some of the other LIC professionals who are with you, but I get to do work in international context. So the stories I'm able to share are maybe stories that they don't necessarily hear from other professionals. And I think they also get this fresh perspective on real world issues.
Yes.
Moms and dads, or whoever is at their home, big brothers, little brothers, sisters, whatever they are, the story is always the same. And so if they're having a discussion about a current event, one of the things we're talking about, maybe they get tired of that and they don't hear something new. And so I think that's a big gain for them. The last thing I can talk about is that to be able to discuss something as a single standalone issue in one class, freedom of assembly, free speech, hate speech, they can compartmentalize that and focus on one issue. And it really gives them a focus that maybe they don't have from learning normal subjects that 7th and 8th graders learn. Well, one of the benefits that I personally experience is that for me, and I have children, but they're mature adults and professionals, and so I can look into the future through the eyes of young people, and I don't have that necessarily especially during COVID times. We don't have the interaction with nieces and nephews and people like that. And so for me, it's a way to get back in touch with the reality of our society and I find young people, I don't think I was as smart and as socially aware of the world activities as our young people today as a result of social media. And so it's a good reality check for me to see where are we as a country or as a Chicagoans or whatever we are, what's on the mind of our kids that maybe we should be paying more attention to.
Very
and yeah, so it's really interesting for me. And then to hear the whatever was the last session we had at Alcott where I am, I mean, they started talking about this thing called TikTok, that I had and it was about hate speech. And so it was very relevant. And it was very eye-opening to me to hear what they're confronted with and what they can judge, how they apply a hate speech context to the behavior of someone on a social media platform. Quite interesting for me. So for me, that's valuable for me as a Chicagoan, as a lawyer, as it's just as a member of society, is to take that away from it. I'll tell you, one from this year is the TikTok one we already talked about, is the kids were there and I'm in the room and they're talking about hate speech and they all know whoever a TikTok star was, and you weren't. I don't know if you're on this TikTok, but your name didn't come up, but they know it's somebody. I don't know who it is. And then all of a sudden there's this dynamic across the room, across the classroom of what about this, what about that? And so that was a highlight to see the energy that comes from something like that, but also the wisdom as well, is how they can assess words and language and attitude and share that experience. They don't always agree that it's hate speech, right? They're able to have a dialogue about something that's not just what they think the teacher wants to hear. That was this year's experience. Last year's, and I don't think I ever told you this, but last year I was at Prescott as well, and I do work internationally, and so I was organizing international debate competition, and we found 2 students from Alcott who agreed to participate in an online international debate competition. So we had from the U.S., from Afghanistan, and from Sri Lanka, and we taught them a little bit about debate. We did a topic relevant to them. Should homework be mandatory? Topics that were related to them. Sure. And then we had a socialization time after the debate. We didn't declare winners because we weren't about winning. We were about shared social experience. And all of a sudden, I have a recording of it somewhere. There were all women. For some reason, only the women participated. We had students from 3 different countries sharing an hour of conversation, asking questions about their school experience. Tell me about this, tell me about that. And so that was an outtake, the kinds of things that a program like your program can introduce the students to or the professionals to. And so that was a real highlight for me that came out of last year.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Thomas, for taking the time and sharing your thoughts and experiences. We're so happy that you continue to be a part of the Lawyers in the Classroom program. And to learn more about the Lawyers in the Classroom program, please go to www.chicagobar.org/chicagobar/LIC. Thank you, Thomas.
And thank you for all you do, Tiffany. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.